Welcome to our June 3rd, First Tuesdays with Heart, sponsored by the Heart Peer Support Team in connection with the Resiliency and Justice Center. HEART stands for Healing, Empowering, and Rebuilding Together. We're a peer support program for anyone impacted by any mass violence incident. Real quick, I want to do an introduction for the HEART team. Alice Goldstein is a licensed professional counselor. She is the co-founder and co-director of the HEART program. She's also a Route 91 and UNLV support group facilitator. Jackie is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is the Resiliency and Justice Center's behavioral health program coordinator. She is one of our original HEART coaches, and she also facilitates a Route 91 support group along with our Third Tuesdays with HEART support group. And I'm Jill Winter. I am co-founder and co-director of the HEART program. I'm a Route 91 survivor. I assist Alice with the UNLV support group and Jackie with Third Tuesdays with HEART. So we always like to start with a quote, a meme, something that kind of has to do with our topic of the evening. Found this one. Live from the inside out. Your mind, body, and spirit are interconnected. Nourish your soul with mental and physical wellness, which, as we know, is so incredibly important. Absolutely thrilled to introduce our presenter for tonight, Holli Abbott. She is a holistic health coach and life coach who helps people restore their physical, mental, and emotional well-being through a whole person approach. She has certifications in functional nutrition and neuro-linguistic programming, combining science-backed strategies with personal experience and insight to guide her clients towards lasting change. Her work is rooted in the belief that true wellness comes not just from what we eat, but how we think, feel, and live. She supports clients in reconnecting with their bodies, reducing stress, and creating sustainable habits that nourish both mind and body. And Holli is actually somebody I've pleased to have met, so I'm really excited to have her share with us.
Okay, well, thank you guys for having me here. It's really an honor to speak with you guys today. What I want to present is really how we can nourish our mind with simple daily habits that support our mental wellness. So that's really what the topic's going to be today. We're going to talk about some physical aspects, but how the things we do for our physical health impact our mental health. So a little bit about my story and how I got into health and wellness. So I wasn't health and wellness. I've been in this industry for about working in it for a little over 4 years. But it was probably 10, 12 years ago when I really started getting into it. My background is corporate retail. So I was working very stressful job, fast paced, high demand. I struggled with various health issues, nothing crazy, horrible, but just recurring things from anxiety to chronic digestive issues. I had psoriasis, chronic headaches, obviously chronic stress, burnout, and all of that led to a lot of other stuff in my life, and the stuff in my life then affecting my health. And I share that just because I want you to know that no matter where you're at in your health journey, whether it be mental, emotional, physical health, that the tides can turn, right? We can overcome that, because for myself, I overcame all of that. And now I'm, a healthy business owner, emotionally resilient. I feel emotionally stable, have a healthy lifestyle. I've done so many things to overcome where I was at that point, where I felt really stuck and felt overwhelmed, and I felt really anxious about my health and uncertain, and felt like I didn't really have much control over it. And learning all the things I've learned over the last several years, I now know that we have so much more control over our own health than we've maybe been led to believe. We just have to kind of know how to do that. And I'm lucky that I've worked with some talented people who have experienced it themselves. I had a coach who overcame pancreatic cancer. So it's like I have learned how our mind really can impact our body when we, know how to work with it. So yeah, just wanted to share a little bit about how I got here. So for me, what shifted and how did I really make that transition, and how did I get to where I am now? Really, it was learning the holistic approach to health. So I went to many conventional doctors, didn't really get much help. I kept being told, you're fine, you're young, you're healthy. And I was like, well, I don't feel that way. So this can't be normal. And nothing against conventional doctors. There's certainly a time and place for them. It just wasn't the solution for me. And luckily, I came across a book that really helped me understand the connection between digestive health and between nutrition and mental health and all of that, and energy levels, all those things. And that was kind of the first aha for me, and helped me to start changing my diet, helped me to understand how the things in my life were affecting my digestive health and vice versa. I really started learning to slow down and learning to listen to my body. I think the lifestyle that we most of us live, it's very fast paced. We don't slow down enough to even know what we're feeling, what's going on. And we're told that a lot of these symptoms that we have are just normal. That's just part of life. And the truth is, it's not normal, and we can do something about it. I was carrying around half of the Walgreens, store in my purse at all times because, I'd have this thing pop up or this thing pop up. And that just seemed like a crazy way to live as a 20 something, right? So that didn't work for me. And I'm glad that I found other things here to help heal myself. Another thing was just learning how to regulate my nervous system. I had lived in this fast-paced world of retail, corporate retail, my whole adult life. And so I was so used to just being in that activated fight or flight state that my body didn't really know any other way. And so learning how to regulate my nervous system had a huge impact. And I'll speak more of that in one of the other slides, because we're not meant to live in that activated state all the time. So that is part of the healing process of getting the body back into that the calm side of the nervous system, what we call rest and digest. And ultimately, I made health my first priority because I learned firsthand that it's really the foundation to everything else. Your physical health, mental and emotional health is going to impact everything else in your life. And I was always a really, driven person and wanted, my career to take off and all of that good stuff. But I learned how much my health impacted that. And once I felt better, I showed up so much better and just differently in my career, and I wouldn't be where I am today if I wouldn't have made health the priority. So mental well-being isn't separate from our body. I think um you know there's sometimes this misconception that mental health challenges are just what they are, and you just have anxiety or you have depression and there's not much you can do about it. And the truth is, there is a lot you can do about it. Everything we do to care for our physical body also supports the mind too. And so for any of my clients who are struggling with mental health challenges, by supporting we have to support the body also when working with that. And so what I'm going to share with you today is going to show you how you can support your physical body and how that's supporting your mind at the same time. You may have heard about the gut brain connection, or how the health of our gut impacts our mental health. And I don't want to get too technical here, but I do want to mention this because it's a huge part of how the physical affects the mental. So the gut and the brain are in constant communication through something we call the gut-brain axis. So there is this bidirectional pathway running from our gut, from the center of our body up to our brain. And so what's going on in the gut affects the brain and vice versa. If there's inflammation going on in the gut, that can affect our brain and our mental health. And if there's a lot of stress and negative thoughts and things like that, that can also influence our gut. So by addressing the health of our gut, we can impact our mental health. Another thing I wanted to point out is 90% of our serotonin is made in the gut. And that's, your feel good neurotransmitter. And a lot of people think that everything mental health is just in the brain, but it's actually, there's a lot of stuff going on in the gut. And there's several other neurotransmitters and hormones that are also either made in the gut or influenced by the makeup of our gut bacteria. So if the gut health is all new to you, I just want to say there is this huge population of bacteria and yeast and fungi and all this stuff in our gut. And there's a correct balance where the healthy bacteria lives in harmony with the opportunistic bacteria. And if they get out of balance, that's when we start having problems. So the food we eat, the stress, sleep, all of those things affect this gut bacteria. And also stress, poor sleep, diet, all of that can affect the gut, which then can of course affect the mood and our mental health. So we want to support the gut because that's going to help support our mental health. It also affects our immune health, hormone health, and several other things like that. So it's really, really important. And I just wanted to mention the things I'm going to mention in the next few slides are also helpful for your gut health as well. So the first thing is hydration. And you may be like, well, that's obvious. We all know we need to drink water. And that's true, but never fails when I ask my clients, are you drinking enough water? They're always, not so sure that they are. So it's one of the simplest things we can do, yet it's often the one that's most overlooked. So this is just a friendly reminder in case that's a reminder that you need. But dehydration is going to equal fatigue, headaches, poor focus. We don't feel good when we're not hydrated. And I didn't even know how bad I felt before because I think I was dehydrated for years. But once I started feeling better and I was staying hydrated, it was like I had a whole new lease on life for real. Also, being hydrated is going to help support your digestion. It helps support detoxification and getting, toxins and waste out of the body, and also helps with mental clarity. And some things you can do to help kind of supplement that is you could add minerals to your water or sea salt for better absorption. If you feel like water just goes right through you, you might need something to help it absorb better, which you could sprinkle some sea salt in there or add an electrolyte powder or something like that. So the takeaway here is start your day with a glass of water before your coffee. If you don't do that already, you can even add some sea salt or electrolytes to have even more bang for your buck there. And the second thing is balanced nutrition. So I think we can tend to overcomplicate food. Everyone wants to know, what do I need to eat? What's the specific diet? And I really want you to ignore the whole diet thing. Let's do anti-diet for a bit, because it's really about eating balanced meals. And this goes for everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, your age, your gender, anything like that. Balanced meals are what matter. And so a balanced meal looks like having protein, a healthy fat, and fiber. And you'll see on the right here, we have our proteins and our healthy fats. And then fiber is everything here: whole grains, vegetables, fruit. All of those are fiber. I call them nature's carbs. That's an easy way to remember it, because the fiber is your carb. It's just that we want carbs that have fiber in them because that helps prevent a blood sugar crash. And blood sugar crashes can often feel like anxiety. They can cause fatigue. They can cause jitteriness. So we really want to avoid those blood sugar crashes. Also, eating balanced meals like this supports your brain, your energy levels, your digestion. It helps keep you satiated and full, so you're not having cravings, things like that. So ideally, I'd want you to think of food as fuel and think of food as medicine. That was really the big shift for me when I was changing my diet. I used to eat mostly processed foods. I ate out all the time. I ate tons of sugar. So for me, changing my diet was not the easiest thing to do. But I read this book, The Beauty Detox and the Beauty Detox Foods, and she would highlight a particular food, broccoli or apples or strawberries, and she would talk about all the different vitamins and minerals that food had in it and what those things could do for you. And once I read that, it made eating healthier and eating all of these, healthy plant-based foods so much easier, because I was like, well, yes, I want things that are going to make my hair strong or make my skin glowing or make my digestion better, whatever it was. So when we look at food as what is it doing for us, it makes it a lot easier to make healthy choices. So the takeaway here is, I would say, is just really try to get more single ingredient, real whole foods into your diet. So obviously noting where you're at today, how many vegetables do you get in? How many whole grains or fruits or healthy fats. How much are you eating out? And then just make improvements on that. You don't have to, overhaul your whole diet or way of eating overnight, but just small changes can make a huge difference. And I also want to note, perfection is not necessary when it comes to nutrition. You don't have to be perfect. We're human. We're allowed to have treats. We're allowed to have our indulgences here and there. I like to follow the 80-20 rule. If 80% of the time I'm eating, pretty clean, I'm making my food at home, I'm buying, real whole foods, then I don't worry about the occasional ice cream or, chips or cookies or something like that. It's all, that all just doesn't really matter when you're eating well majority of the time. So movement. Exercise is another one that I think people can think of it as just, that's what I do to lose weight. And really, I want you to see movement as a way to nourish your mind, because it's the quickest thing you can do to feel good mentally, emotionally, and physically. Movement is going to help release those mood boosting chemicals. You're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy afterward, which I know sounds weird depending on the type of exercise you do, but the more you move, the more it energizes you and it boosts your mood, like I said. And also, I would encourage you to move your body to support yourself, not to punish yourself. It's a form of self-care. We really don't want to, force ourselves, like I have to go work out because I ate this or because I did that. That kind of puts a negative connotation on it, when really we want to see it as something we're doing to support ourselves and nourish ourselves. And you can really do anything in terms of your movement: walking, stretching, dancing, going up and down the stairs, swimming, riding a bike, anything you want. Like sometimes I'm like, I just need to move. And so I have a little mini trampoline in my living room, and I just get on there and jump on the trampoline for a couple minutes, and it'll change my mood like really quick and energize me. So do whatever feels good to you. Consistency is really what matters over intensity. It doesn't have to be intense, doesn't need to be an hour-long workout. I mean, I rarely work out over 30 minutes at a time. That's just kind of what I do. Sometimes I might do that more than once a day, but I don't think that you have to spend a full consistent hour working out, especially if you don't have an hour. So the takeaway: try to move your body daily, even if you're just starting out. If it's 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, a short walk after dinner, a short walk around the block during lunch, anything helps, and you will see a difference in how you feel physically and mentally. So another thing is managing stress. And I say gently here because sometimes managing stress can feel overwhelming and stressful as it is. Oh my gosh, I need to manage my stress, or oh my gosh, I need to reduce my stress. And we don't want to add more stress, right? So I'd love for you to look at stress as like, how can we better support your system so you can better adapt when stress is present? We don't want to be afraid of stress, because things are going to happen in our life that feel stressful, but it's really learning how to regulate specifically our nervous system when stressful things do happen, or when life is just stressful and chaotic, right? So nervous system regulation is really key here. And going back to what I was mentioning earlier about being in an activated state. So we have two sides of our nervous system. One is what we call the rest and digest side, and one is the fight or flight, or fight, flight, or freeze, right? And the fight or flight is meant to happen only in emergencies, right? When there's something, a bear is chasing us, right? And we need to run. The body is meant to do that for those times. However, the world we're living in today, a lot of people are chronically living in that state of fight or flight all the time. And the reason that's a problem is because when you're in fight or flight, the body thinks, like I said, it thinks you need to run or fight. And so it shuts down your digestion. It shuts down liver, shuts down detoxification. It sends, stored glucose to your bloodstream. It raises your heart rate. And that's fine for a short amount of time, but it's not meant to be a long-term thing. So imagine if you're chronically stressed and your digestion shut down all the time, well, you can imagine that's going to cause digestive issues. That's going to cause poor nutrient absorption. You know, the gut's not working how it typically is supposed to. So it just can lead to a lot of problems. So that's really key here. So I want to share a few tips on how you can regulate your nervous system, and just doing some of these things on the daily kind of retrains your nervous system to get back to that calm state more easily. Because I can tell you for myself, when I worked in corporate America, my body just got used to being activated, to being in fight or flight. So even when there wasn't anything going on, I would notice like, oh my gosh, my shoulders are up to my ears and I was all tense, and there was no reason. So I had to slowly retrain my body to get back to that rest and digest. And a couple of things you can do here. Breath work is the quickest thing to kind of change your state. And there's so many different ones, and you may have heard of this one, but the 4-7-8 breathing technique, you just breathe in for 4 counts through the nose. Then you hold for 7 counts and you breathe out through the mouth for 8 counts. So the key here is that your exhale is longer than the inhale. And if you put your hand on your heart while you do this, you will notice your heart rate slows down. Like it really, you will feel the shift. If it might take, a minute, it might take 3 minutes. It just depends on, where you're at. But that's a really quick technique if you need this support, immediately. And then EFT tapping. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. Tapping is it's sort of like acupuncture, like how acupuncture works, where they're putting needles on certain meridian points. You're just tapping on these points. Basically, this is how this works. And you're saying certain things at the same time. So if the reason this works is because it's helping release emotions. So when we're activated, there's generally, emotion involved. We're angry, we're frustrated, something like that is going on. And we want to move through the emotion. We don't want to suppress it. We don't want to ignore it, because then that just gets stuck in the body and we don't feel great. We want to move through it. So the EFT tapping helps the emotion come up and helps us release it. You will feel a release almost. And so there's lots of videos on YouTube. You can just type in, tapping for anxiety or tapping for really anything. You can even do it for positive things too, like tapping for abundance or something like that, right? And so once you get the hang of it, you could do this on your own if you were somewhere where you needed to. And sometimes just tapping without saying anything can give the same effect, but it's really effective. And then gentle movement. The reason I find that this works is it gets you out of your head and into your body. Most of the time, it's what's going on in our mind that is actually stressing us out. And so the body's getting that message of like, oh my gosh, there's something to, be stressed about and activated about. And so if we can get the body calm and moving and get out of our head, it can shift things. And I tell you, this really works, because there was a time in my life where I was having insomnia and all this weird anxiety. I didn't even really know why, but I started doing bedtime yoga, just a 15-minute bedtime yoga routine on YouTube before I went to bed. And it really helped me. And I started sleeping better over time. It was crazy how well it worked. Another thing I love is the healing frequency music. 528 hertz is the one that's like for healing, but there's different frequencies that you can choose. You can just put this in, Apple Music or Spotify or YouTube. There's even podcasts with this. So that's something that I like to listen to if I just, want something kind of calming in the background, and it really will help calm your nervous system. So if this sounds helpful, I would encourage you to pick just one tool that maybe you can do daily. Pick a time that it works for you. Maybe it's at bedtime, maybe it's in the morning, or whenever you might feel like you need it. Maybe it's after work or during work, and give it a shot and see how it works for you. Sleep. So sleep is really, really important. I didn't really know how much sleep impacts how we feel until I went through like nutrition school and just learned all about it. But while we're sleeping, there's so many things going on. The body is repairing and restoring. It's, regulating our nervous system and basically just giving our parts of our body a break so that we are ready for the next day. And there's so many positive things from sleep. So definitely make this a priority. This sleep is one of my non-negotiables. I don't always go to bed exactly same time, but I rarely stay up super late. Like that's just rarely going to happen for me because I know I'm going to feel not so great the next day. And also when we lack sleep or we don't sleep very well, it tends to throw off our hunger and satiety hormones. And so the next day, there's been studies around this, but the next day we tend to eat more and we tend to make poorer choices when we haven't slept good the night before. So having an evening routine really can help improve your sleep quality. It doesn't have to be anything long or extreme, just one or two things that might help signal to your body that, bedtime is coming, we're calming down. That also helps release melatonin. So we know that melatonin is what helps keep our circadian rhythm in check. And so different things you could do is turning off your screens after 9 p.m. or 8 p.m., your computer, your phone, stuff like that, or just put it away, right? Drinking herbal teas, something like chamomile tea is very calming and soothing. You could take a magnesium, have dim lighting around your house. You could play some of the healing music, read a book, take a bath, anything that works for you to help you feel relaxed and get ready for sleep. So small changes are going to equal big progress here. I know when we want to transform our health, we want to do so many things at once, right? And it feels like, yes, we're going to do all these things, and we try to add, 5 things at once. And then we quickly, fall off because it ends up being too much. So I would ask you, what feels doable this week? What's one thing that you can do? Adding in an extra glass of water each day, adding a nourishing breakfast if you're someone that generally skips breakfast, taking a 10-minute walk after dinner, doing breath work for a few minutes before bed. What's one thing that's going to make a huge impact for you? And just start there. And once that becomes easy, it feels like a habit, it's something you just like doing, if it works for you, then you can add something else on. And that way you're kind of helping your unconscious mind get on board with these new changes instead of trying to throw so many at it at once where it's like, nope, hold up, I don't feel comfortable with that. Because we really want to get our conscious and our unconscious mind on board with changes that we're trying to make. So that's all I have for the presentation. I'm open to any questions if you guys have questions.
So I will say that I love that you mentioned 528 hertz. That's something I've been listening to for a couple of years. And I do it on my Alexa. I actually set it to, and that's what I fall asleep to, but I just tell it to play on repeat. So even if I wake up in the middle of the night, that's what I'm waking up to. And it is definitely quite soothing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you use that. I find it so like calming and just calms my mind and the body. So
Yeah, and sometimes I'll switch it up too. I was reading that binaural beats is another one that is supposed to be helpful, especially with sleep, because I know that at least some of us with PTSD, sleep can be a struggle. So sometimes mix it up and do that as well.
yes, that's another good one. I've also heard that that helps with focus. So, if you're someone that maybe has ADHD or just struggles to focus for whatever reason, it's good to like put headphones in and turn that on, and it can kind of help you stay in the zone, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are
Mhm.
good.
Holly, I have a question. You mentioned that there was a book kind of like in the beginning of your journey that really helped you in particular, like with a wanting to eat more healthy.
Yes.
And then you referred to another, I don't know if it was the same book. What was the first book you were referring to?
First book was The Beauty Detox.
Okay.
And the other book was, I think it was her second one, the Beauty Detox Foods. And so it was more, it went deeper into the food with recipes and things like that.
Okay.
So yes. And I'll just say that the beauty detox, I didn't even like really follow her detox protocol. I just learned a lot from the information she shared and figured out how to translate some of that in my own way. Right. So
Okay.
mentioned dairy for example, and what dairy does. And so I just started making changes to dairy, but I didn't do a lot of the other stuff right away. It was a very gradual. And so I just shared that because if anyone reads the book and is like, well, this is overwhelming, I can't do that. You don't necessarily need to do her whole protocol, but the information she shared in the beginning about, you know, how our digestion works and how that affects our skin and hair and nails and our energy levels and all this stuff
Hmm.
blew my mind. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And that was
Great.
the first time I connected the diet affecting my gut because I had gone to all these doctors. I'd even had a colonoscopy, endoscopy. No one ever asked me what I was eating. No
Isn't
one
that
asked
crazy?
about my stress levels. None of that. And so I didn't know I had a problem with my diet, right? Because no one ever told me that I did. And that's how I grew up eating. And so I didn't know it was not good for me until I read that book. And so it really did, you know, change my journey from there on out, having that knowledge. So
Sure.
mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
So
And
I had a question about adding the minerals or sea salt. Are there any minerals that we should, I mean, I know magnesium is a big one, but are there any other ones? Because there's so many different things that you out there that you can add to your water. Are there certain like combination of minerals that are better for us?
Unless you've had things tested, I think people should take more of a multi-mineral. So you're getting a little bit of all of them. And because if you take too much of one, it can throw off the others, right? So I think like a multi-mineral supplement is like the safest way to go. Um, taking an electrolyte powder, you get some of those you get that as well, which is very helpful because generally the electrolyte powders have a good balance too of like the sodium, potassium, and all the different things. And the one that I really like is from Dr. Berg. I don't know if any of you follow him on YouTube. It's Dr. Berg, Berg. He has a amazing YouTube channel, but also he has some supplements, and I use his electrolyte powder and I just put, you know, half a scoop in a cup of water before I have coffee. And anytime I like feel like I have a headache coming on or feel dehydrated or anything, I'll do that. Another um natural form of electrolyte is coconut water. So if you're ever out and you're like, I feel dehydrated and this water is just not cutting it, coconut water is the best natural source of electrolytes. So sometimes I will use that like in a smoothie instead of almond milk or something if I feel like I need that extra like potassium and stuff like that. So
That's great to know. Thank you.
mhm.
Does anybody else have
Jackie,
any questions? Oh,
Jackie's got her hand up.
I do. I am a really strange person in that I have a lot of allergies. I have, it's allergy to pollen. So almost all, and it's on a spectrum, fresh fruits and vegetables, I'm allergic to, unless they're cooked. And like, so example would be, I can't eat a raw carrot, but if I cook a carrot where I can easily poke a fork in it, I can eat it.
So when you
So it's often been challenging to eat in that balanced way because of my lips, I'll just stop breathing actually.
Jackie, jeez.
Alice is like, good Lord, Jackie. Yeah. It's weird. It's like I forget what it's called. I took a picture of it. It's like pollen something, but yeah, it's kind of cool when I meet other people with this allergy because we're like, oh my God, yeah, because it sounds so strange.
Yeah, it is. I've not heard of that with like the fruits and vegetables for sure.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Oh,
But some chemical in it breaks down when you cook it.
Mhm.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I
Um,
thought I'd throw that one out there for fun.
so I will say allergies. So 70% of our immune system resides in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of immune, overreaction, autoimmunity, things like that, we do kind of go back and look at the gut as one of the roots to it. So allergies are tricky because I do personally think sometimes there's, the body like all of a sudden develops an allergy because potentially something happened at that time, that food was eaten and the
Mhm.
body saw it, like experienced it as, you know, a threat, right? And it
Yeah.
this allergy. Um, it's
So
very,
I found the name of it. It's oral allergy syndrome or pollen food allergy syndrome. And it's food allergy caused by uncooked fruits, raw vegetables, spices, and nuts. There's certain nuts I can eat and others I can't. So it's a wide, yeah. So
is.
anyway, how about that one, guys? How do you like that? Learned something new about me, didn't you?
Leave it to you, Jackie.
Thank you. And it's existed since I was a kid. Like, yeah, it yeah. My mom was
Tough
like,
one.
you have what? So yeah.
I would have
Yeah.
that was
I,
something that Jill would have had.
okay.
What'd you say, Donnell?
I said I would have thought that's something Jill would have had.
No, Jill's just picky.
No, Jackie has that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the good news is, as if I'm eating, let's say, a salad, and there's something in the dressing that I am allergic to, my lips will start itching, so I can stop and drink water, and it will stop. So there is an early warning system with it. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Maybe it's something for us to talk about offline.
Yeah. Well, allergies, I will just say connected to the gut and the immune system. And so any support there is going to help. Now, I don't know if you can actually reverse an allergy like that. I have seen people, I had a friend who had, what's the allergy where it's certain animal proteins that they're allergic to? There's a name for it.
Is
Like
it the
she,
alpha gal?
yes, that was it. And she has overcome that and does not have the problem anymore.
Oh,
So
go. Hmm.
yeah,
It can actually be caused by tick bite.
Oh,
yeah.
So, Jackie, I have found that roasting vegetables is my favorite way because I don't like a lot of them raw, but
yeah.
roasting still gives it the crunch, but it's thoroughly cooked.
Yeah, I mean, stir fry is typically my go-to. And again, if I saute or stir fry them enough to where I can work in it, I'm good. It's weird. Anyway. So yep, there you go. Learn something new. The more you know.
Yes, I did. That's very
Kiana. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to tell Jackie that her diet seems very similar to mine because I have to follow a gastroparesis diet. And so I'm not technically supposed to eat raw fruits or vegetables. I do anyways because I love them too much. Um, and then I'm also allergic to tree nuts and coconuts and bananas. So I got like a trifecta going on. So, anyways, Jackie, we have that
Yep.
in common. I
Yep.
mean, my lips don't, go crazy. I can actually
Yeah.
eat them. I'm just not supposed to.
Yeah. Bananas, very bad. Uh, I can eat peanuts and cashews, but no walnuts, almonds, stuff like that. So, yep.
I can only eat peanuts. That's the only nut
Ah,
I'm able to eat.
yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Allergies make life interesting, especially when it's food.
They do. They do. Especially eating out.
Oh yeah, definitely. Does anybody else have any questions?
I would just say I love the conversation because in the field of psychology, counseling, mental health, we're really looking more toward that integrative approach between, of course, mind, body, and mental health. And I just think our field is going to grow more in that area. So it's such an important topic. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's so important because it's all connected, right? And that's what I continue to learn with my own health journey and see with my patient or my clients. And so yeah, I think it's important to talk about how it all is connected. And one affects the other.
Yay. So I asked in the chat for everyone, what feels doable this week? Count it, drink more water. That's awesome.
Yay.
Yay. And I'm gonna go add some sea salt to my water. So that was a good reminder. Thank you, Holly.
Yes, of course.
Good job. Yay.
Oh,
Look at
water physical
that.
therapy. That's a
Woohoo.
great one. So I've been doing a lot of gardening, so it's not necessarily walking, but I guess it is walking because it's walking back and forth doing things, but it's not just a true walk, but it's not only getting me outside, fresh air, it's movement and it's grounding.
Yes, grounding. Grounding is really good, and connecting with the earth, there's just it's so good goes so good for us. So yeah, I would definitely count gardening in there as movement, and you're doing stuff with your hands and touching the earth. That's all good stuff.
And I'm growing whole foods, so
Exactly. Yeah, you have another one there. So
yep.
perfect.
So Danelle's going to add salt and start water aerobics.
Oh,
So
nice.
great.
Awesome.
Water
And
ribbon.
Nicole, water and movement. Does running my kids all over creation with summer activities count for movement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of movement. You're constantly running after them. And
Yeah.
Deborah's going to drink coconut water. Yeah, I didn't know that was a natural source of electrolytes. So that's really good to know.
It is, yes. It does have a little bit of sugar because obviously there's sugar in coconut, but there's no added sugar as long as you get just the plain kind. But if you are someone who's watching sugar or diabetic, then just be cognizant of that. But it is a good source of electrolytes for sure.
And Mary's going to increase her water. We have a lot of water increases, so that's great. And then Jen's going to
Yay.
paddleboard now that it's nicer out.
Nice.
That's great movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Very
just
good.
don't fall off. That's my thing. But
Exactly. Exactly. So that's a lot of really good additions to our routine that we can do for ourselves.
awesome. I love it.
Great.
Good.
Well,
Well,
thank you. Thank you,
Well,
Holly. We appreciate it.
thank you guys for having me. And for anyone that wants to stay connected, I have the little QR code here. You can join my newsletter. You can find me on Instagram or shoot me an email. Either way is fine. Feel free to reach out or follow or connect. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Holly.
your time and all the information. It was great information.
Good, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so as I think a lot of you know, we have Third Tuesdays with Heart that we have been doing for almost a year now. It's continuing the conversation from our first Tuesdays and then talking about anything else that's going on in our daily lives. Well, we are now adding a fourth Thursday. So we'll have the third Tuesday of each month at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, and the fourth Thursday at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. So we can kind of cater to both sides of the the country, an earlier one and a later one, because I know it's hard on the East Coast for some people to make the 9 o'clock, and it's harder on the West Coast for some people to make the 4 o'clock. So Jackie and I will be facilitating that one as well. So we're really excited to add that one. And if you're interested in that, you can go to withheart.eventbrite.com or to the Resiliency and Justice Center's calendar to sign up. I just wanted to remind everybody that all of the integrative services programs offered through the Resiliency and Justice Center are now available to anyone impacted by any mass violence incident. The free programs include Heart Peer Support, First Tuesdays with Heart, Third Tuesdays with Heart, now Fourth Thursdays. There's a weekly meditation and mindfulness, trauma recovery yoga, art therapy, and then the only in-person one is the equine therapy demonstrations, and that is in Vegas. So if you happen to be visiting Vegas, if you don't live there and they have an equine therapy demonstration scheduled, please feel free to join. And if you'd like any more information or to register, please go to theresiliencyandsjustice.org/calendar. It's just a brief look at the calendar. Anything that is not event specific, so UNLV or route, is open to anyone impacted by any mass violence incident. You can see there's quite a bit on there that is open for all of us. And then for additional support, if you'd like to be paired with a heart mentor, you can go to the Resiliency and Justice website. It's /heart. The disaster distress helpline was created for people impacted by man-made and natural disasters. So that would include obviously mass violence, but things like hurricanes, tornadoes as well. I know that Kiana mentioned that she's been dodging tornadoes in Oklahoma. So that's something that is open for anybody impacted by that. The National Mass Violence Center has some wonderful resources. They do also have a virtual resiliency center that has a lot of good information. And the Transcend NMVC app was actually created by people impacted by mass violence for all of us. Just a little clarification, it needs to be the Transcend NMVC. There are other Transcend apps. So when you're searching for it, make sure that you have the NMVC in there. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is always a good one to remember. And then we do have a Facebook page for First Tuesdays with Heart, and also a fun Facebook group, Cooking for Post-Traumatic Growth, where we share recipes, some gardening tips, things like that. And if there's a recipe you're looking for, you can also ask. But that page is just more for fun, because it's been proven that cooking can be grounding and healing. So next month, our First Tuesdays is going to be on July 1st. Jackie will be discussing grief, loss, and finding meaning. So, I know a lot of us, and me especially, when you think of grief and loss, you think of somebody close to you passing away, and absolutely that is the ultimate loss. But also, having gone through mass violence, a lot of us lost some innocence. We lost that feeling of safety. There's grief associated with that. So Jackie's going to be touching on all of those and finding meaning after those situations. So we would love to have you join us next month for that. And we just want to thank everybody for joining us, and thank you again to Holly for presenting and such great information. We really appreciate it. Hope everybody has a wonderful month. And just a reminder, with 4th of July coming up, give yourself some grace if you feel activated hearing the fireworks, because I know in some places those start sooner rather than later. So please make sure that you're giving yourself that grace.